Hi, my name is Christine Bastone. You are looking at a picture of my youngest sister, Liz. Sadly, Liz died by suicide on February 10th, 2012. On the evening of February 11th, I was reading my Kindle in bed when the phone rang shortly after 8 p.m. I was very tired and not really up to talking to anyone. So, even though I saw that it was my parents, I let it go to voicemail. About 5 minutes later, they called again. Figuring it might be important, I picked up the phone this time. My husband answered the phone at the exact same time. I heard my dad's voice and assumed that he wanted to talk to my husband, so I hung up the phone. Maybe a minute later, my husband says something like, "You have to hear this. You better sit down." My parents were still on the phone, but he is the one who told me. I don't remember his exact words, but he said something like my sister had killed herself. Now, I have two sisters. In that split second, I wasn't entirely sure which sister he meant. But between the two of them, I knew which one had done it. Even so, to this day, I wish he had said which one. Anyway, it wasn't very long after that I stopped listening. I started walking around the kitchen and living room area. I was in shock. I had never been so shocked by anything in my life. I kept saying, "What? My sister did what?" I sat down. I stood back up. My mouth dropped open. I put my hands on my head. I could not believe what I had just heard. It was awful. One of the worst moments of my life. I still feel traumatized by that phone call. I still think of it sometimes when the phone rings. I immediately panic sometimes when the phone rings. For over a year, I would automatically and immediately panic if the call was around the same time or later than that very memorable phone call. I can still easily panic if I see it's my parents who are calling. I so didn't see this coming. I didn't see the suicide coming or the possibility of losing one of my sisters. I had just taken it for granted that both of them would always be there. I think it took about 6 months before that shock even began to wear off. And it still hasn't completely worn off, as it still feels like a bad dream, and I still half expect her to come back. I did attend her memorial service, and while that was very important, I'm not going to go into that here. Except for having trouble sleeping and a reduced appetite, I actually was very much okay through all that. Maybe it was the shock, maybe it was the support, but my grief didn't really start until the funeral was over. It wasn't until after I got back home that my grieving really began. I felt stuck and in pain, and it felt like everybody had disappeared. I felt very alone. I had no idea what to do. I had never lost a member of my immediate family before, and the losses I had been through in no way prepared me for this. It was through a newsletter and 30-day course that I don't even remember signing up for, but found in my inbox, that led me to a Facebook page called Stepping Through Grief, that led to other Facebook pages, which led to Facebook groups, which led me to Hope and to Help. I joined a number of grief support groups, most of them on Facebook, a few of them on Yahoo. For most of the first year, I grieved pretty close to 24/7. I was on Facebook constantly. I read book after book. I had a very hard time focusing on TV, but the fiction books I read were mostly mysteries, and 9 out of 10 of them had grief in them somehow. That first month anniversary, I was too busy focusing on the birthday party for my kids to realize the significance of the date. But I have noticed every single one of them since. I've developed a routine for that day where I post in many of my support groups about how it's exactly however many months since I lost my sister to suicide. I also write a monthly letter to my sister telling her all about what's gone on in my life over the past month. Although for a number of months it was the night before the 10th that was difficult. In the evening, I would start to feel pain and anxiety. I think I was sort of reenacting the dividing line between February 9th, 2012, when my sister was alive, and February 10th, when she wasn't. Somehow, though, that got better, and these days I usually only feel a little anxiety. I've known about the power of online support groups for a long time, and I have joined many since that fateful February day. But this time I also needed a local support group that I could attend. My mom and I found one that met locally in someone's home. We would eat dinner together once a month and then talk for a good long while. It was really nice to be with people who understood and who listened and supported us. It was a great help. Surprisingly, Mother's Day that first year turned out to be a really nice day. You see, my mother mentored a fourth grader, and I got to meet her mother on a day our kids were getting awards. In connecting with her on Facebook shortly after that, I found out she's only a year older than Liz was. So I was sitting in church on Mother's Day, and all of a sudden the idea came to me to sort of adopt this very nice lady as my baby sister. I asked her after church, and she happily said yes. Then, later that day, my mom all of a sudden started playing the answering machine message that Liz left her on the previous Mother's Day. I was able to record it on my cell phone. So now I have one thing that has her voice on it. It was the absolute best present I could have gotten. I was actually feeling pretty good until Memorial Day hit. Then for some reason, all I felt was Liz's absence. And I very quickly decided that I didn't like holidays anymore. The weird part is that I normally didn't see Liz on Memorial Day, but I started feeling very sad and depressed anyway. Holidays became very problematic after that for a while. I felt worse and worse until I bought a few fake flowers and a 4x6 frame. I put a picture of Liz in the frame and took it and the flowers to my parents' house. You see, that is where I spend most of my holidays. The flowers and picture now sit in their living room, and it makes it so, in a way, it's like she's there. This one little thing made most holidays much more bearable for me. One of the hardest special occasions for me is my birthday, and I really didn't expect that. I expected to have a hard time with her birthday, not mine. Her birthday has been okay. I don't give her an actual card anymore, but I make her a cake, sing her happy birthday, and even give her a gift when I donate a book to my local library in her name. I can still celebrate it. In a way, I can still give her things. But for my birthday, I find that the only thing I want is a card from Liz. This is tough because that's the one thing that I cannot have. And so it kind of turns my birthday into a bit of a downer. Not only the actual day, but for weeks before my birthday in July, I am so not excited about it. I have a very hard time figuring out what I want to do on that day. And this year, my third birthday after my loss, most of me just wanted to skip that day. This part of my grief is not getting any better. It's getting worse. The very idea of that first New Year's Eve freaked me out for months before December 31st. I knew that once 2013 was here and 2012 was gone, that it was going to feel like I had left Liz behind. I am in a number of online grief support groups, and little by little I have been asked to be either an admin or a moderator. It has been such an honor to do so, and it also does help me to heal some. I participated in the World Suicide Prevention Day on September 10th, and also in International Survivors of Suicide Day, which is always the Saturday before Thanksgiving. The day in September I find both painful and comforting at the same time. It's a day that's very important to me, but it also hurts. I'm sure the fact that it's on the 10th of the month has something to do with that. In November, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention puts on a webcast in the afternoon, and there's a live chat afterward. Call me crazy, but I actually look forward to this day. It's very nice to have a day just for us survivors. On September 15, 2012, I created a Facebook page for Liz, which I've really enjoyed. It now has a little over 180 fans. I also started making pretty online frames and collages. I've made one with Liz's picture for all the holidays. Then I printed them and hold them some on their respective holidays. I became a co-host of an online memorial service with a Facebook friend of mine whose brother was murdered on the same day that Liz died. We became instant friends when we realized that our siblings had died on the same day. On tough days, such as the month anniversaries, I now focus on the online memorial service that I just mentioned. I also focus on Liz's page. So I have two huge projects that I work on such days. They help me to both stay busy and feel connected to my sister. Such days still aren't easy, but I think that for now, anyway, they're as easy as they are going to get. On November 17, 2012, we went looking for a dog. My daughter found one at the Humane Society, a red-nosed Chihuahua named Buster. Not quite what I expected, but a very sweet dog nonetheless. He adds a little too much work to my day, but I still like having a dog that I believe that maybe Liz helped us find because I asked her to. End part 1.